Before anything else, picture this for a second. While you were fast asleep last night, the person who keeps occupying your thoughts might have been sitting by themselves, fighting back tears. Not because they were upset with you, and not because they had truly let go, but because somehow, once again, the conversation circled back to you. At some point, your age slipped into the discussion, not just as a figure, but as a question they've been wrestling with for weeks, maybe even months. But what if that question is nothing more than a distraction? What if age is simply the excuse their mind keeps grabbing onto? Because the real truth is much harder to confront. Sometimes the deepest conflict isn't between two people at all. It happens entirely within one heart. Your person may currently feel pulled between what they genuinely feel and what they think they're supposed to feel, between what society expects and the quiet voice inside them, between fear and desire, reason and emotion. Then, when they finally opened up to someone they trusted, their usual emotional armor began to slip. The carefully managed version of themselves faded for a moment, and something raw and honest came through. What they revealed may have exposed feelings far stronger than even they were prepared to admit. People tend to fixate on age because numbers feel straightforward, tangible, and easy to justify. But a meaningful bond isn't built through arithmetic. Real connection is formed through trust, understanding, emotional security, shared moments, mutual respect, and that odd sense of recognizing someone on a level words simply can't capture. So, if your person keeps circling back to the topic of your age while still being unable to stop thinking about you, then the number itself might not be the real issue. The deeper struggle could be that their feelings have grown stronger than the rules and expectations they once assumed would guide their decisions. Most people carry an unspoken blueprint of how relationships should look, shaped by upbringing, culture, friends, and society at large. These beliefs can go unchallenged for years until someone comes along and changes everything. Suddenly, the heart starts drifting towards something the mind never accounted for, sparking a fierce battle between familiar expectations and an unforeseen truth. That internal tension can make them think about you far more than they ever intended. They may measure their conversations with you against every other relationship in their life. They may notice that being around you feels different, that you understand something in them that others miss, or that your presence stirs emotions they can't quite explain. Rather than offering clarity, these realizations can leave them even more unsettled, because they shake the entire framework they once used to understand love and relationships. Then there's the fear of being judged. No matter how self-assured someone seems, the opinions of friends, family, and society can still shape the choices they make. Your person may worry about criticism, being misread, unwanted attention, or how others might interpret the connection. But the more they fixate on those outside voices, the more they may be confronted by an inner truth that simply won't fade away. Meaningful bonds aren't built solely on outward traits. A deep connection forms when two people understand each other on an emotional level, hold mutual respect, share core values, and feel genuinely seen. None of that can be measured by age. This is why age may become a stand-in for their struggle, rather than the actual root of it. It represents something bigger. The tug-of-war between expectation and emotion, social programming and personal truth, what seems rational and what quietly feels undeniable. The more they think it over, the more they may notice that their focus always drifts back to you. Not because of the gap between your ages, but because of what exists between you beyond that gap. There's also a wide gap between what people present to the world and what they secretly hold inside. Many people learn early on that being vulnerable feels risky. They grow afraid that showing insecurity, doubt, fear, or emotional confusion could invite rejection or judgment. So they build up walls and put forward a calm, confident front, while concealing the parts of themselves that feel fragile. That's why quiet vulnerability can reveal so much. If your person is bringing up worries about you to someone they truly trust, they aren't merely sharing facts. They're letting another person glimpse a hidden corner of their inner world. Their words may center on one surface-level issue, but underneath may lie emotions they usually keep tightly guarded. People rarely let their guard down about something that means nothing to them. When a situation carries little emotional significance, it gets mentioned in passing and forgotten. But vulnerability surfaces when something touches a person's hopes, fears, desires, dreams, or insecurities. If your person is emotionally wrestling with this, second-guessing their feelings again and again, or seeking guidance from someone they trust, it may signal that this connection has reached a point where they can no longer brush it off as trivial. Their emotional stake has grown strong enough to stir real inner tension. And hidden vulnerability doesn't always show up as a dramatic confession. They might never come right out and say everything they feel. Instead, they might zero in on age, circumstances, practical concerns, or questions that seem reasonable on the surface. But sometimes those visible issues are just doorways leading to a deeper truth. What they might really be expressing is uncertainty about how to manage feelings that have grown increasingly hard to ignore. The outward worry mirrors an inward struggle. This can leave them just as confused as anyone else, especially if they're accustomed to relying on logic, certainty, structure, and clear-cut answers. Genuine emotion disrupts that sense of order. It can make someone feel hope and fear all at once, excitement tangled with doubt, confidence followed by insecurity. The stronger the bond grows, the harder it may become to squeeze those conflicting emotions into a tidy explanation. Yet there's another important truth buried beneath all this. Vulnerability also demands trust. People don't bear their private struggles to just anyone. They're careful about who gets to witness the parts of them that remain unsure and unprotected. So when your person finally lets someone close see that they're struggling with feelings tied to you, it may reveal that this situation has affected them more profoundly than they've let on. The question they keep asking might not truly be about age at all. It might be about why. Despite every reason their mind manufactures to stay guarded, their heart keeps returning to you. When someone finally confides in a trusted friend about something that's been weighing on their heart, it often means they've reached a point where they can no longer carry it alone. They're looking for understanding, comfort, or simply a safe outlet to release feelings they've kept buried. For a while, they may have tried to seem strong, put together and unbothered. But the emotional weight eventually becomes too significant to keep managing in silence. At its core, vulnerability is what unfolds when emotional defenses start to loosen. The walls built to guard the heart don't vanish all at once, but small cracks start to appear, letting the feelings behind them finally surface. These moments are rarely simple. They can bring confusion, discomfort, self-doubt, and the painful recognition that something matters more than the person wanted to admit. But vulnerability is also a form of honesty. Behind every fear lies something valuable enough that losing it feels terrifying. Behind every insecurity is something the heart desperately wants to shield. And behind every moment someone exposes their emotions is a truth that has grown too important to keep concealed. One of the strongest forces driving human behavior is the fear of judgment. Before people fully grasp who they are, they often learn to read how others react to them. From a young age, they're taught what earns approval, what's considered normal, and what might draw criticism. Over time, these lessons take root deeply and can quietly steer decisions without a person even noticing. This means many choices are shaped not just by what someone genuinely wants, but by what they imagine family, friends, communities, or society might think. When a connection pushes against those expectations, your person may feel torn between two different realities. The genuine feelings that surface whenever they think of you, and the imagined reactions of everyone else. Their heart may want to draw nearer, while their mind keeps weighing possible consequences. The more meaningful the feelings become, the more draining this internal conflict can feel. The fear often extends beyond one person's opinion. At its heart is the human need to belong, to stay accepted by the people and groups that matter most. This is why your person may dread disappointing loved ones, being misunderstood by friends, or drawing attention they never wanted. Even if no one has actually said a critical word, their mind may keep constructing possible scenarios and picturing how others might react if the truth came out. Many of those situations may never actually happen, yet the mind can treat them as though they're already real, letting anxiety build before any actual judgment occurs. And sometimes the harshest judgment doesn't come from outside at all. Over time, social expectations can become internalized until they turn into a critical inner voice. Your person may have absorbed ideas about how relationships are supposed to look, how love should unfold, or which circumstances are deemed acceptable. When their connection with you challenges those beliefs, they may start questioning and judging themselves before anyone else even has the chance. This private criticism can be especially harsh, because there's nowhere to hide from it. It can trail them into every thought and make them doubt feelings they know are genuine. Fear of judgment can also fuel a strong need for reassurance. When your person opens up to someone they trust, they may not necessarily be asking that person to decide what they should do. They may simply need help making sense of what's happening within them. They may want to hear that their emotions are valid, that they're not foolish for feeling this way, or that following their heart doesn't automatically mean they're making a mistake. The fact that they keep returning to the subject or seeking guidance shows just how deeply the situation has affected them. If the connection carried no emotional weight, there'd be little reason to keep discussing it or hunting for answers. Their need for reassurance itself can reveal how much they've emotionally invested. Fear can also masquerade as logic. Your person may tell themselves they're only being practical, mature, realistic, or responsible. Focusing on outside complications can feel safer than facing the powerful emotions underneath. But if they keep thinking about you despite every attempt to reason the connection away, they may gradually realize that logic hasn't erased the truth of what they feel. As this realization takes hold, your person may begin understanding that other people's approval can't fully determine what brings meaning to their own life. External acceptance can offer momentary comfort, but genuine emotional fulfillment often requires the courage to honor what feels true within. Their biggest challenge may not simply be overcoming others' judgment. It may be learning to trust their own experience when it clashes with beliefs and expectations they've carried for years. Deep emotional attachment usually doesn't arrive in one dramatic instant. It builds slowly and quietly, sometimes without the person even realizing how far their feelings have traveled, until something forces them to finally face the truth. What starts as curiosity, admiration, appreciation, or simple interest can gradually turn into something far more powerful. Thoughts become more frequent, reactions grow more intense, and the other person's presence begins carrying a weight that's hard to put into words. This is when a connection moves past surface-level attraction and starts affecting a person's inner world in meaningful ways. If your person becomes emotionally overwhelmed while thinking about you, their feelings may have gone beyond ordinary interest. Simple attraction can spark excitement, admiration, and passing fascination, but deep attachment is different. It involves genuine emotional investment. They're no longer reacting only to what they see in you. They're reacting to what you've come to represent within their emotional world. One of the clearest signs of this is the amount of mental real estate you begin to occupy. People naturally return to what matters to them. If thoughts of you pop up during unrelated moments throughout their day, it may show how much the connection has grown in importance. Memories can become surprisingly vivid. Conversations may replay over and over, and small details about you can linger in their mind with striking clarity. As attachment deepens, even their mood may start responding to the connection. A positive exchange with you may bring hope, comfort, or excitement, while distance can stir longing, uncertainty, or sadness. This kind of emotional responsiveness doesn't develop with just anyone. It grows when another person begins reaching deeper emotional and psychological needs. And eventually, attachment sparks something even more powerful: the desire to truly understand you. The focus shifts beyond appearances or accomplishments toward your thoughts, experiences, fears, dreams, and the hidden parts of you that few people ever see. This curiosity exists because deep attachment doesn't simply want to watch from a distance, it wants to connect. And as that desire for connection intensifies, emotional vulnerability often becomes unavoidable. The deeper a person's feelings run, the more they risk being emotionally affected by whatever happens to the connection. That can feel unsettling because vulnerability means surrendering a degree of emotional control. Your person may suddenly discover fears they never expected to face. They may worry about losing touch with you, being misunderstood, or encountering circumstances that could create distance between you. These fears don't arise because the connection is meaningless. They arise because it's become important enough to affect their emotional sense of security. One of the most surprising effects of attachment is how it can quietly reshuffle a person's priorities. Things that once felt extremely important may start losing some of their weight when measured against the emotional experience shared with someone who truly matters. Your presence may have shifted the way your person views certain situations. They may weigh choices differently because thoughts of you now factor into the equation. Future possibilities may begin taking shape with you somewhere woven into them. These shifts aren't always intentional. They happen naturally when a deep emotional connection becomes threaded into someone's inner world. The most powerful aspect of real attachment is that logic can't simply flip a switch to turn it off. Your person may pick apart what they feel, question every emotion, or even try to resist the connection outright. Yet the feelings may keep coming back. Attachment isn't formed by conscious decision alone. It grows through repeated experiences that carry meaning, comfort, familiarity, and emotional significance. Over time, those experiences become woven into a person's emotional life, making the connection increasingly difficult to brush aside. This can spark an intense inner battle. Inner conflict happens when two powerful forces exist within the same person and pull in opposite directions. There's no outside enemy to fight. The struggle unfolds entirely within their own mind. One part wants to move forward while another urges caution. This tension can drag on for days, weeks, or even months. If your person is experiencing this conflict because of you, it may mean their feelings have grown strong enough to challenge long-held beliefs, fears, or expectations. The mind naturally craves consistency. People feel more secure when their thoughts, emotions, and actions line up with one another. But when the heart feels one thing while the mind believes something else, that balance starts to crumble. Their heart may be moving toward a connection that feels deeply meaningful, while their logical side scrutinizes every possible risk, consequence, and uncertainty. This clash between emotion and reason can be hard to escape because both sides may seem equally persuasive. The emotional voice speaks through longing, intuition, memories, hope, and the private truth of how you make them feel. It reminds them of moments they cherish and the impact you've had on their life. The logical voice speaks through caution, analysis, social expectations, and practical questions. It pushes them to consider what could go wrong and demands answers before letting them move forward. Because neither voice feels entirely meaningless, your person may feel stuck between them, unable to fully commit to either one. They may replay conversations with you over and over, searching for hidden clarity. They may revisit moments in their mind, imagine different futures, and weigh how each possible outcome could affect them. This constant mental churn can be their attempt to resolve the conflict internally. Yet the more emotionally significant you become, the harder it may be to arrive at a simple conclusion. Feelings rarely follow the clean, predictable patterns that logic prefers. Another sign of this internal struggle is emotional back and forth. One day your person may feel completely sure about what they feel for you, and the next, doubt may creep in. They may experience hope, followed by hesitation, confidence, followed by fear. This doesn't automatically mean their emotions are shallow or fake. Often it means competing forces are still tugging at them. At times, the heart speaks louder. At other times, fear and caution take back control. The cycle can continue until they start to understand what genuinely matters most. Fear often sits at the center of this process because the logical mind is naturally wired to protect. It tries to head off disappointment, rejection, embarrassment, and emotional pain. That protective instinct can be useful, but when it becomes too dominant, it can also build barriers. Your person may question this connection not because it lacks meaning, but because its importance makes the thought of losing it feel even more frightening. There may also be something deeper unfolding beneath this conflict: personal growth. When someone runs into emotions that challenge everything they once took for granted, they're often pushed to examine themselves more honestly. Old beliefs get tested, familiar expectations come under scrutiny, and they may wonder whether the rules they followed still reflect who they truly are. This process is rarely comfortable because it demands stepping away from familiar patterns of thinking and stepping into uncertainty. Gradually, your person may come to realize that not every meaningful decision can be settled through logic alone. Facts and careful analysis can offer direction, but they can't always explain why a particular connection carries such emotional weight. Some people enter our lives and affect us in ways that reasoning alone simply can't capture. As your person sorts through what they feel, they may eventually discover that the real challenge isn't choosing emotion over logic or logic over emotion. The deeper challenge is learning how to honor both while staying honest about what's truly happening within. Some connections seem to stretch far beyond ordinary attraction and touch something much deeper. They can appear out of nowhere, sometimes when neither person was even looking, and leave a mark that's hard to shake. This is often described as a kind of soul-level recognition. It doesn't mean two people instantly know everything about each other, nor does it guarantee a relationship free of obstacles. Instead, it describes the strange feeling that someone's arrival has stirred familiarity, meaning, and emotional significance that logic struggles to explain. If your person experiences this kind of recognition with you, they may struggle to understand why your presence affects them so intensely. On the surface, they may zero in on age, circumstances, practical concerns, or other details that are easier to break down. Yet underneath all those explanations may lie a deeper truth. Something about you feels different. The connection may reach parts of their inner world that usually stay hidden. One of the most powerful elements of this experience is an unexpected sense of familiarity. Your person may feel as though they know you in some strange way that outpaces the actual time you've spent together. Conversations can feel effortless instead of forced. Being together may bring an unusual sense of ease, and even silence can feel meaningful because the connection doesn't rely entirely on words. This can be puzzling because it doesn't follow the usual timeline through which trust and emotional closeness typically develop. And beyond that familiarity lies something even more powerful: emotional resonance. The sense that somehow what touches you begins to touch something deep within them too. This deeper emotional resonance happens when one person's thoughts, feelings, struggles, or experiences seem to awaken and echo within another. Your person may catch themselves relating to parts of you in ways they never expected. Something in your fears may remind them of their own fears. Your dreams may stir dreams they once buried, and your struggles may mirror battles they've quietly fought themselves. This recognition can create an unusually strong sense of connection because through you, they may feel understood on a level that goes far beyond appearances. At the core of human nature is the desire to be truly seen, not just for the role we play or the image we project, but for who we really are underneath it all. A soul-level connection can touch that desire in a profound way. Yet this kind of bond doesn't always bring comfort alone. It can also stir deep self-reflection and personal growth. Your person may start questioning beliefs they once accepted without hesitation, examining emotional patterns, or confronting parts of themselves they had previously avoided. In many ways, the connection can act like a mirror. It may uncover strengths they'd forgotten they had, fears they tried to hide, desires they never fully admitted, and weaknesses they weren't ready to face. Everything the connection stirs up may have already existed inside them, but your presence gives those hidden parts a reason to finally surface. This can feel inspiring, but it can also be unsettling because real growth often requires leaving behind familiar ways of thinking. One reason these connections can feel so powerful is that they often persist even when circumstances grow difficult. Many ordinary connections fade when obstacles show up, but a deeper emotional bond may keep resurfacing in a person's thoughts despite every effort to focus elsewhere. Your person may try to explain their feelings away, convince themselves the connection doesn't matter, or even create distance in an attempt to regain emotional control. Yet the significance may remain. That persistence can make the experience impossible to overlook, because some emotions don't vanish simply because they're inconvenient or hard to make sense of. Your person may also start noticing that their vision of the future is slowly shifting. Without consciously intending it, they may begin picturing possibilities that include you. Instead of viewing life only through the lens of their individual goals, something within them starts making room for the possibility of your presence. This doesn't happen because they force it to happen. It can unfold naturally when an emotional bond becomes tied to their sense of meaning, happiness, and fulfillment. At its deepest soul-level, recognition isn't about perfection, but about meeting someone who awakens emotional honesty, self-awareness, and a connection that logic simply can't fully explain. This story was never truly about age or other people's opinions, but about hidden vulnerability, fear, attachment, and a bond too meaningful to ignore. Trust your inner wisdom. Be patient with life's timing and let clarity replace confusion. Thank you for being here with Young Justistics. May peace, courage, love, and blessings guide you until we meet.